Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's HCL Open Mic for OneTest. My name is Kim Splain, and I'll be your moderator today. I'd like to go over a couple quick housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, the session is being recorded, so if you prefer not to participate in the recorded session, please go ahead and drop from the call now. And then during the webinar, please type your questions in the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel, and one of our team members will respond to you as soon as they can. And then as time permits, we'll take a minute to review some of the questions that come in during the presentation. That's it for housekeeping. So thanks again for taking the time to join us today. We hope you enjoy the webinar. I'm going to hand things over to Paul Escae to get us started. Paul?
Okay. Hello. I decided to do this open mic on the topic of correlation issues when we play back a test and OneTest performance. It's a common issue that we get in the support, and if you use the tool at all, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get a correlation issue at playback. And there's really no good training for this one. I think it's a skill that has to be taught or shown or demonstrated. There are some older YouTube videos and so forth, but let me just get started with what I plan to cover. I'm on level 2 support for the Americas, which includes Canada, South America, the US, and so forth. I've been with HCL software since IBM did the business partnership with them in 2016. And before that, I was in level 2 support for the rational test tools, which is the predecessor for the HCL version of the OneTest products. And what I plan to cover is actually do a recording and OneTest performance. I'm using 10.2. We're going to play back the test, and we're going to see some playback issues, and we're going to learn how to deal with these issues by analyzing the test log. And then we're going to do manual data correlation steps to modify the test so it plays back clean. And if time permits, there's a special use case of data correlation if we need to make references from a set cookie header. So my agenda is the one thing I've struggled, what's a good website to record against? Let's see. I'm going to use Jenkins. The goal of this one isn't to teach Jenkins. It's just, it happens to be a good website because it's something that can be installed in your local environment. It's yours if you install it. It doesn't affect customers, or there's no personal data that's going to be disclosed or anything. It's pretty straightforward. It's easy interface to record against and use. Installation takes 20 minutes if you're first time using Jenkins. What is data correlation? We'll actually see this in real time, but data correlation, if you go to the pub, it's sometimes a request requires data that was returned from a previous request. And when they say return, it's always on the response side, either response headers, response content, or it could be a cookie that was set on the response side. This is true, but a little bit more detail is we make data, the keyword here is dynamic, by making references, and that's data that's on the response side, and we substitute data on the request side. Now, OneTest performance will do automatic correlation, but it can't correlate everything that needs to be correlated. It's impossible to anticipate every variation of possible HTTP traffic to do automatic correlation. So we have to do manual correlation sometimes, and that's the goal of this one mic, open mic presentation. So let's start with the recording, and you'll see I actually would do these, but just heads up, We always want to clear the history, especially cookies. If you don't clear the browser history, stuff will be in the cache, or you have a cookies, which maybe the application thinks you're still logged in, and it just causes havoc at Playback. So always clear your browser history, especially the cookies. Always wait for pages to completely load. And if you have something like Jenkins, which I'm using in my environment, don't use http://localhost at 127.0.0.1, because if you decide to put this test on a schedule and then you run that schedule on a remote agent, 127.0.0.1 or localhost isn't the same as the OneTest performance machine that you're recording on. So use the IP address or a short host name or fully qualified host name. Get rid of junk domains at test generation. I'll explain what those are. And for data correlation, I like to make the test smaller. I just disable images, and you'll see me do that. So let's do an actual recording. And this is the Jenkins application. It's installed on one of my virtual machines. And this puts some thought into what we're going to record. Obviously, we're going to record a login. And for your first attempt, don't make it too complicated. Don't do like 30 pages and submit this one. And it's just going to make the test unusually large. It's better to do a simple recording, flush out the correlations. And once you get those flushed out, then you could do a more sophisticated recording. It's just, we don't really want a super large test for the first time. It's intimidating. The test log is big. It's just start small, then work your way up. It's a good rule of thumb. Now, what I'm going to record, one of the things I'm going to record is a new item. Okay. And if I record this one, and notice that my item is called, I just picked TTTTT, right? So if I play back this test with this recording of this one, I'm going to get a failure because I can't create another item with the same name. So when we do a recording, part of my recording is going to be to actually create it and then delete this one. And then when I play back the test, I can create the same item with the same name and not have any issues. And so I just plan to click a couple of these things, create one item, and then delete it. And that's going to be my first pass through the test. Okay, so let's do a recording. And I'm going to use, it's going to be HTTP. I'm going to call this Open Mic 01. I'm going to use Firefox. I'm going to take the default values. It's going to launch Firefox. And I'm going to clear my history, especially cookies, clear everything. Boom. You notice I haven't done anything yet, and I'm picking up traffic. That's going to be the junk domains of the junk traffic that we have to filter out. So let's go to Jenkins. Let's do the login. And I'm just going to click on people. It's going to completely load. I'm going to go to build history, manage Jenkins, and my views. Everything's completely loaded. Now I'm going to do the new item. I'm going to put new item. So this will actually be captured, and it's easy to put something just distinctive if I have to search for this name, right? I don't want to put like item name or something generic. Freestyle project. And I'm going to save it. And there it is. Let's go back to here. And let's delete this project. Yes. It's gone. I'm going to do log out. And I'm going to close the browser. Okay. So I mentioned junk domains. Firefox, for example, will try to access Firefox accounts or detect portals for malicious websites or whatnot. But some other junk from Firefox, IE or Edge will have its own set of junk traffic. But so I just want this one. So I'm going to generate the test. I'm going to open the test, and I'm going to say no. Now I mentioned like let's see if I can find a bunch of pictures of this one. This test looks big and large and intimidating, even though I haven't clicked that much. So one trick that I do is if you go to HTTP options, you can disable images, and then you can, so it disabled a bunch of images that you're never gonna get data correlation issues with images, almost. And so it's gonna make the test log smaller, and it's gonna make the test playback faster. Another thing is, if I pause like for 10 seconds during the recording, it's gonna pause 10 seconds at playback. So I look for large pauses that I might have taken during the recording. And I just set them to 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second basically. And because we're going to be playing this one back probably 3 or 4 times. So I can save myself 9 seconds at playback just by setting the think time. And I'm just going to do this one. Okay. Now, I haven't done anything to the test, right? So with high anticipation, I'm going to play it back, and hopefully it's going to work. Now, I don't change perspective. That's just a personal preference. But if you change it, then you have to change it back, and it's just 4 mouse clicks. And for correlation, it's not going to bias that much. So when you play it back, this is somewhat useful in that it's running or whatever. You may see errors that pop up, but this doesn't give us any information to what's actually happening underneath the covers. This is an early warning system, sort of. We know that on the people page, we already have 2 issues. We got another page with issues, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 already. So maybe another one coming. Okay, performance. So let's wait until this one's done. Hit no, and we've probably seen this one because this is the default view. But what really counts is the event log. Okay. Now, if you don't have the test log up, the way to bring it up is find the result. And this was one of the first things that took me a while to learn. It's like, where's the test log? I seen it, now it's gone. I can't find it. It's there, but you have to right mouse click and do display test log, and then it'll pop up. This view for correlation isn't that useful. This view is what we want. And if you didn't have this populated, as soon as you click on this one, it'll repopulate. Now, this is, let me jump back to the PowerPoint. So we play back the test, and we see something like this. And this will kind of give you like a feeling like I'm stuck, I'm blocked, I don't know what to do, what's my next steps, how can I fix this? Well, the way we fix it is we're going to double click on the first red. Sometimes they're going to be yellow, but in this case it's red. And then we're going to go to test log, and then we're going to compare the request at playback time versus recorded time. And that's almost what we have to do for every playback issue. So let's double click in the first red one. And so I have something's going on. I got 403 and 200, but I don't know the details yet. I can't do anything with this other than use this little pull down and go to the test log. Okay. Now, so now we're in the test log. We know something bad happened. We've seen this, and this is kind of useless for correlation issues. We jumped exactly from here to here, and we can do a compare with the test. And initially, you may want to compare all. And so here's the key to correlation. This is the recording, what was recorded, right? So we recorded a host stapler, this host and this agent, blah, blah, blah. These are request headers, and we got a 200 at recorded time, but when we play back, we got a forbidden. And when we get a forbidden, the content's different. And so if there's anything that needed to be extracted to the reference, it's going to fail. And so you see stuff like failed extraction, which leads to a failed substitution, which is going to lead to another failed extraction. So the whole test, once you get one failure, the whole test just starts going downhill in a hurry. So always focus on the first red one, and that's going to clear up downstream ones. And so the key to data correlation is what's going on with what's making this fail. If we go back to the PowerPoint, for a test to run correctly, a request that is sent to a server might need to use a value that was returned by a previous request. So that means if you look at this one, it's not purple, which means it's not substituted by a reference at playback time. This is a static value. It was recorded with this value. And my instinct, in which I'll confirm in a second, is this really needs to be a dynamic value. Okay. Now, another clue, always look at the response headers. You can look at the response content. But it's given us another clue, right? No valid crumb was included in this request. Okay. What's a crumb? This looks like a crumb. This looks like it's invalid. Why is it invalid? Because it's sending the value that was recorded and not the value that was returned by previous request. So this thing actually has three potential data correlations that we need to do. We need to probably correlate this one, and we need to correlate this one. And if we correlate this one, the same reference can be used for this one. So I'm going to start with this value, and I'm just going to copy this one, and I'm going to jump to the test. Now I can click here, but I can also click an element, which takes me back to the test. And how do we find a previous return of that value? We do a test search. I think you can do a test search up here. I always do a right mouse click. It's just a habit. So let's find the value that we think hopefully was returned upstream. And we want to search header values. And I don't think there's going to be a name that, a header name with that. So you could check it or not. It doesn't matter for this one. I'll check it anyway. So let's do the search. And here, when we do the test search, and you can double click. And let's see, sometimes it doesn't break in the line boundary. I got lucky this time, but if it's, that made it worse. But let me move this one back. Yeah. So here's, this value was returned on the response side, right, as response content for this request. And it's used here in the URL, right? But so what we want to do is take this value and we're going to create a reference. And the way we do that, if it's not already highlighted, just highlight it and be extra careful. And I'll pick up like this quote or the backslash. How do we make a reference? Highlight it, right mouse click, create a reference. Okay. Now, performance tester will make automatically generated references, and we're going to make some manual created ones. So to distinguish the ones that performance tester makes and the ones that I make, I always put my in front of it. You can put custom or some other tag, but this is really helpful because we can tell just by looking at references on a test if it's an automatically generated reference or one that was made. The other thing, when we make a reference, we always want occurrence 1. If it's not occurrence 1, there could be a chance that playback, for example, this was 5. At playback, the value we may actually want is maybe at 7 or 6 and not 5. But if you pick 1, it's going to be correct. So let's do this one. Let's do yes. And substitute. Boom, boom, close. And now if I go back here, and if I look at protocol data, okay, so this one's now substituted from, where's it substituted from? If you highlight this one, you can go to the reference. The playback time is going to grab whatever is after the slash and before the single quote, and then it's going to substitute it in 2 places, here and also here. So that's the first data correlation. That's making data dynamic. We make a reference from upstream and we do a substitution downstream. Now we already know that Chrome's going to be a problem, right? Because it actually told us in the test log, invalid Chrome. And okay, so not all the time you're going to get such a nice error message that's that specific. So just think outside the box sometimes. But let's go to where's my test? It's over here. And so we know this one's invalid, right? And let's do a test search. And I'm counting on the fact if I search for the first 20 digits, I'm going to find this entire number. And how do we do a test search? There's a couple ways. My preference is test search. Don't forget to do the Control-V to paste it in. We're going to search request. We're going to search responses. And we got lucky. So here it is. It's on the response side. So we can make a reference and substitute it every place on the request side. So that's making data dynamic. So let's do, this makes this a reference. So be careful. Don't get the double quotes. Right mouse click, create a reference. 1 is good. And like I said, I'd use a convention. I put my in front of it. Apply and close. Yes, I want to substitute it. And whoa, there's 29 places to that needs a substitute. So if I do this, my, clicking finger is going to be tired. So you can just unclick that one and boom. There you go. Now let's save the test. No. And here's what I mean by the references. If you do data correlation, right mouse click at the top of the test, show references, and where's the ones that I made? Maybe I need to tweak them or something. Sort by name, and these are the ones that I made. So one of them's used twice, one of them's used 37. So I found this to be helpful, and you can use whatever convention you want, but my just seems to work. Let's close this one, and we made some changes. So let's get our hopes up higher that maybe it'll work 100% this time. And the thing to watch is the page and the event log. Green is good. We like green. Whoops. Okay. Now we still have an issue with page number 3. Green is good. I like green. Green is awesome. More green. Okay, so this is doing pretty good. We still have an issue. And oh, okay, so now we got 2 issues we have to deal with. But the test isn't over, it's still running. Okay, there's the dashboard. And cancel. Okay, so our test isn't perfect yet, but look how much we improved, right? Our first playback, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages with some type of unexpected messages or response code or VP failures. We did 2 correlations, right? We did the stapler value, and we did a Chrome value, but we still got playback issues. But and so how do we deal with these? Same way. Double click on the first red one. Highlight the one that has message, or if it says VP failure or something, we don't want that. But click on this one and go to test log. Dismiss this one. And this is actually in the PowerPoint. I try to make a chart on this one. So you want to synchronize you want to open the test log, click on events, double click on the first red or yellow one, highlight the first error message or error or info. Don't click on something that has like page health or something. And then you do the go to test log. And then the next step is jump to the test log, and then you do a compare. So let's do that one, and you can do a compare with all. And this one looks suspiciously similar to something we did the first time, right? Purple means it's correlated, which means it's the value is set by a reference that we made. But this is the same issue. It just happens to be a different number. So we need to correlate this one. And so we can copy this one. We no longer need to compare. We can jump to the test. Let's do a test search. Let's find that number and search. There it is. Same thing. It's on the response side, so we can substitute it on the request side. But before we can substitute it, we need to make a reference. Right mouse click, create reference. And now, since I've done this before, I think I may have one with the name, right? It's not unique. So just put 2. I don't think there's any harm if it's not unique, but since it told me it's not unique, I change it so it is. And just do this reference. So always prompt is off. Boom. And let's see. And we can save a little bit of time. Let's go to protocol data. There's something else going down here that's way removed from this first one. So I don't think this here, just my instinct tells me that whatever's happening here isn't related to this one. So even though I said nobody's deal with the first one, technically we did. We can deal with the second one here. And let's see what this one, so this one got a 404 too, right? And this is the same thing, right? So here's another stapler value. So let's knock this one out. And let's do copy. How do we knock it out? We find it. Search and requests and responses. And we want to see the value on the response side first. We can. Great, we found it. And do right mouse click, create reference. And I'm going to put my bound 3 and apply and close, hit no. And let's just play this back, see what type of progress we made. So let's hit no. Let's watch the event log. So I think that first one, red one, should no longer be red. That's a simple stapler value. And oh, green, green, green. This is awesome. Awesome. Good. Yes. And this is where you gotta like root for it. Go, 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 go. And then it gets to the very end. You don't know if it's gonna work or not. It's this, to me, this is the fun part. Nope. Okay, so it didn't work, but for the test log, I think it still has one more request, or maybe two. And once they're going to be finished, when it starts performing the test log transfer, you know the test log is going to pop up. Let's hit cancel. We no longer need this one. Always look in the events, highlight this one. So we got 2 and 2 for a total of 4 messages, but before we had 2 and 2, so it looks like maybe nothing improved, but they could be different messages. So how do we find that one? What's going on? Double click, go to here, go to the test log, and it's yet another, it still didn't find it, but it's because of another stapler value, not the one that we correlated previously. So let's do one more of these. And let's jump to the test. And let's do test search. And sometimes correlation is tedious, but it's kind of fun. To me, it's like a puzzle, trying to solve it. So here's this one. Let's make a reference. And 1 is good. And I know this one's going to be not unique, so I'll make it unique and verify. Apply and close, yes, and substitute checked. So there's like the one single place that needed to be set. Now let's look at the test log again, because we dealt with one issue, and what's this one? And yet one other one. Now, we won't cover rules in this session, but if we had rules, we wouldn't have to do all of these one by one. But it's best, before you do data collation rules, it's best to learn how to do these things by hand first. So let's search for this one. Hopefully this is going to be the last one for these stapler values. And here it is. data reference, my content bound. This should be number 6. Now notice this is 61, and that's, I don't feel comfortable at playback that this is always going to be the 61st value that we want. Like I said, we always want 1 if possible. So here you have a chance before it's made to tweak the regular expression. We know it starts with bound, so we can make it more specific. If we copy, you have to use Control-C, and we can make it here, and stapler, $, and you can verify if it's valid or not. No. And this is where, if you don't know regular expressions, you can probably get yourself in more trouble than trying to help it. So regular expression, speak, $, I think I anchored. It's not valid. Let's see. I think I have to escape this one. So this is an example of maybe you just leave. If it becomes a problem, then deal with it downstream. But let's see. I'm just kind of anticipating it may be a problem, but let's play it back and hopefully it's not. And we found that one. We got a substitute, and we're going to play this one back. And let's go to one other. Let's play this one back. And one point is data correlation is an iterative process. It's rare that we would be able to solve all the playback issues at the first time, because the first correlation issue, like a failed extraction substitution, is going to make these requests not work at all because they have bad data or something. And you need to have the request work with somewhat good data. And then if it failed for another reason, then you have to flush that one out. So I think this one is actually looking good. So this one's all green, no errors, no unexpected errors, performing the test log. And boom, we got the green smiley where before it was all red. You can click in the events if you wanted to, but this test is good. So this kind of proves we did
Okay, Paul, it looks like we lost Paul for a second. So let's give it just a minute for him to try to connect again. I think he's pretty close to being near the end of his presentation. So let's just give it just a minute. Oh, we lost you for a little bit there, Paul.
the what?
We lost you for a little bit there. We lost you for maybe, what, 2-3 minutes?
Oh, am I back?
Yes, you're back. Yep.
And you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. That was a network glitch. So let me see where we are. Was this, were you able to see this?
Yes, we were able to see that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, we did the correlations, and if you go to right mouse click data correlation show references, this test was correlated by making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 manual correlations, and we got it to playback correctly. So let me, and this is in the slides. If you have a set cookie, if you want to make a reference from a set cookie value, the tool would let you do something like this and make a reference, right? It's not going to stop us. But what happens at playback time is we cannot count that J session ID is going to be the first one. It may be the second or the third one. So whatever reference we make here could be fail at playback because the order isn't guaranteed. So the way we do, if you need a reference from something that's from a set cookie, code response header, we need to use custom code. And if you look at the code, it's grab in this example J session ID, and do I have the results of this one? And then it'll test log. So, and I just use for demo purposes, I substituted the J session ID from custom code into the page name just to verify it worked. Some links that's in the PowerPoint is, let's just open all of these. Here's our documentation. If you go to OneTest performance, that's a good reference. They'll talk a little bit about correlation, the concepts of it. You can search for correlation here, and guidelines and rules, substitution, and all types of good stuff. We do have a forum, so if you have a question or something that doesn't rise to the level of opening a ticket, just post it to the OneTest performance forum, and we monitor the forums. And so we'll get back to you. Just open a question. We love questions, so just if you have one that you don't, it's easier to post a question here if it's just a question instead of opening a ticket. And then this can be the question may already be answered by another person previously. I wrote if you do have to open a ticket, if you need help with data correlation, because they can get tricky. The ones that I've done with Jenkins is kind of rather simplistic, but sometimes there can be more in-depth. But we need the test log. If you open a correlation issue, we need right mouse click. Don't do export test log. That doesn't help us. We want export ... test assets with dependencies, because we're going to need the recording, the grabs in the test log, and the actual test itself. And it's tempting to do export test log, but we can't load the test log in OneTest performance and start making references and so forth. And this is, I just published this one. I need to polish it up a little bit, but this is how to extract a cookie value from a server supply cookie using custom code. Here's the actual custom code you cut and paste, and it shows how to actually create custom code. So maybe if you haven't made custom code before, it can be maybe intimidating, but it's rather easy. Just follow these steps. And here's a support guide if you need to open a ticket for support. We have the quality guidelines, severity levels, and SLA expectations. And we also have on YouTube our support channel for HCL software support. It's for all the OneTest or HCL products, but we do have some for our OneTest products. And with that, I think I'm done, and we can open it up to questions.
All right, we don't have any questions right now. So if you do have a question, please go ahead and post it in the question panel or raise your hand. I'd be happy to unmute you if you'd like to speak. Otherwise, no, I don't see anything coming in, so I think you did a great job.
Yeah, if you wanted, the way to learn correlation is you just have to jump in and do it. And I think if you install Jenkins on one of your
All right, I think we lost you again, Paul.
and then one of the videos, and use the video as a tutorial. I just go this and you play back a test, and you get that big red circle. You just feel kind of hopeless, and there's no idea what to do next. So it's a skill that needs to be picked up, and I always tell people it's just new, it's not hard, and there's a big difference. So it's not that hard of a skill to pick up. It's something new, so there is some learning involved and some hands-on, but it's also kind of fun. Like I said, it's to me it's challenging. It's like a puzzle. It's like, where's this value from? Is it going to work? And sometimes you don't know if something's dynamic or not, and you just make a guess. And when it works, it's like you feel smart, or but when it fails, it's like, okay, maybe it's something else. So.
We actually do have a question that just came in. Someone's asking if they could get a copy of the VM that you used with Jenkins and performance. Is that something we can share?
Copy of the VM. Just if you go to, if you don't have a VM, then it depends on which. If you're with HCL, we use MyCloud to provision a VM. But if you go to this one, you go to jenkins.io and just click download, and you get one little, it should be a Windows version, and let's see, Jenkins. And it takes, like I said, it takes about 20 minutes to download it. You unzip something, and maybe it's here for Windows, and you unzip it. You probably you set a Java path basically, and you run this word, click, 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 and you specify your login password. I use admin. Pick a different port if you don't want the default one. This conflicted with web reports for OneTest performance, and I think we actually changed the web reports because of this one. So there's no longer conflict. And you point to JDK, and when you install it, it's going to lay down a little secret file somewhere, and then you copy in the password, and then it's just a service. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if I have it on this machine. It's on another VM. But if you're, like I said, just have these VMs, I can't really give people access to them. They may be the GDPR compliant machines, but if you need help, maybe post in the forum how to install Jenkins, and I have some notes on it. But trust me, it's not like installing WebSphere. It's just a little setup, and point to the JDK, and put in the secret password that it puts in a file. And so this one I don't have Jenkins on, so I have it on other VM. But it's trust me, it's not that hard. But I was able to do it. pretty straightforward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And John, I saw Marianne responded, but if you do have more questions, just feel free to ping Paul offline. He'd be happy to help you. So anyway, I think we're all set for today. I don't see any more questions coming in. Once the webinar closes, you will get a short survey. We'd love for if you could take a couple minutes just to fill that out. Otherwise, thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next open mic. Have a great day.